Welcome to Joe's Recaps. In this video, we are going to comment a movie called The Untouchables. One night in Paris, Driss drives his boss Philip through the city. When waiting in traffic, he gets too bored. Driss breaks the speed limit and begins driving fast. He dodges other cars and not cares about traffic signs. This causes the cops to go after him. Driss bets he can lose them. However, after driving under a bridge, the cops ambush them from both sides. But Driss doesn't look worried. Also, he bets €200 that he can get them an escort. The cops make him leave the car, and he starts behaving irritated. He tells them Felipe can't move, and he was taking him to the hospital. The officers find proof of this when they see the wheelchair in the truck. When approaching Felipe, they see him convulsing, which is also an act. Seeing as it's an emergency, the cops forgive Driss for breaking the speed limit and offer themselves as escorts on his way to the hospital. To celebrate winning the bet, Driss plays music. When they arrive at a hospital, he shares a smoke with Philip as soon as the cops are gone.
For more videos like this, subscribe and click the notification bell.
This friendship began many months ago. Philip and his assistant Magali hold interviews to find a new caretaker for him, but it isn't going too well, because all applicants have very standard or awkward answers to their interview questions. But they're suddenly surprised when Driss storms in. He ignores the fact it isn't his turn quite yet. He only wants some papers to be signed saying they won't hire him so he can get the unemployment benefits. He's blunt and a little rude. He even hits on Magali, but Felipe finds him amusing and asks him to come back the next day for his signed papers. Driss goes back to his home in a humble neighborhood. He tries to take a bath, but his little siblings bother him. He only manages to get it done in time thanks to his sister Mina. She is a bit older than the others and more responsible. While waiting for their mom to arrive, he looks through the window, and he sees his brother Adama getting out of a suspicious car. When the boy enters the apartment and leaves again after grabbing his bag, this causes Driss to be even more sure that he's up to something. In the evening, his mom arrives. He gifts her an egg he stole and tells her he's been away on vacation, but she isn't happy to see him because he disappeared for 6 months and never called. And now, he's shown up out of nowhere as if her home was a hotel. She's absolutely done with all his lies, and she has other children she has to take care of. Then she kicks him out and tells him not to come back. Driss spends the night with some neighborhood friends. The next day, Driss goes back to Philip's house for his papers. He's welcomed by the housekeeper, Yvonne. She shows him around the place and tells him about Philip's daily routine. She also shows him the room he would get for himself with his very own bathroom. Driss can't help staring at the bathtub before he's taken to see Philip. He offers the signed papers, but also a job opportunity. Driss accepts the 1-month trial. Philip tells him he bets he won't last 2 weeks. After bringing his things to his room, Driss is taught how to take care of Philip. He must learn how to keep his legs active, how to put him in the wheelchair, how to help him shower and change his clothes. Driss gets angry when he discovers he must put on him some high stockings and even clean his butt after Philip uses the bathroom. But no matter how much he complains and says he won't do those chores, he ends up accepting them as part of his job. Later in the evening, while he's sitting on the roof, he's interrupted by Philip's daughter Elisa and her boyfriend Baston. They are looking for a private place to make out, and he kicks them both out after refusing to share his beer. Driss quickly gets used to the daily routine with Philip. At first, he does make some mistakes, like handing the phone to Philip instead of putting it on his ear, or forgetting the baby monitor while having a bath. He also learns to organize his mail in different folders. Most of the letters are for Philip, but there's a series of private ones he isn't allowed to look at. When he finds a flyer promoting female escorts, he decides to organize a file just for those instead of throwing them in the trash as Philip says. One morning, after Yvonne comes to his room to scold him for being late, she finds some dangerous weapons in his bag, but she doesn't comment on them yet. Driss' work today is to drive Philip around, but he refuses to put him in the back of a van as if he was cargo. So instead, he takes him on one of the fancy cars. Philip first thinks this isn't suitable and says they should be pragmatic. Bowie soon gets excited at the idea of a faster, less boring ride. When they try to leave the building, there's a neighbor parked at their entrance. He ignored the sign on the door that says it's forbidden. Driss goes after the guy, grabs him by the front of his shirt, and threatens him until he moves the car. Philip is impressed by his actions, but Yvonne disapproves. Then they go to a museum. Philip is planning to buy a piece of painting, but Driss considers not worth the money, because it's just a red blotch on the canvas. Afterward, Philip meets with a relative of his. He tells Philip that everyone is worried about Driss since he can be violent. He's also discovered he has a criminal record, but Philip doesn't care. He appreciates Driss because he doesn't pity him and doesn't mind joking around with him. One night, Driss has dinner with Yvonne in the kitchen while listening to Philip dictate a letter to Magali. Yvonne turns off the baby monitor claiming it's a private conversation and proceeds to explain what's going on. Philip is pen pals with a woman called Eleanor. Those are the letters he didn't let Driss open, but he's never met Eleanor in person. Their relationship is purely epistolar. Driss is trying to sleep when he hears some weird sounds coming from the baby monitor. Philip is having trouble breathing. Not being capable to ignore him even if he tries, Driss goes to his room and kindly guides him through the attack with soothing words and a wet cloth to wipe his face. Philip eventually falls asleep, but he wakes up again moments later, saying he needs air. This time, Driss doesn't hesitate. He puts Philip on the wheelchair, covers him with blankets, and takes him out for a wander by the river. This is the first time Philip has seen Paris at night in a long time, and now he's more relaxed. He explains to Driss that the medicine can do so much, and he sometimes experiences phantom pain. When the phantom pain threatens to appear again, Driss shares one of his joints with Philip, who is skeptical at first but ends up loving it. Afterward, they go to a restaurant and they joke around while sharing a meal. Philip decides to share more of his story. He met his wife when they were students, and shortly after they got married, she had 5 miscarriages and was diagnosed with an incurable terminal illness. That's when they adopted Elisa. Philip has always loved competitions, extreme sports, speed, and a paraglider gave him that. It was during a paragliding session that bad weather caused him to crash and break his vertebrae. However, he still thinks his real handicap isn't the chair, but living without his wife. After joking around so more, Philip remembers the date and realizes Driss has passed his 1-month trial, so he's now officially hired, but he needs to bring back the egg he stole. Because it was a gift from his wife, she gave him one every year, and he has exactly 25, matching their time together. The next day, Driss goes to talk to Mina when she's leaving school. She is a bit offended because he hasn't been answering her messages except to ask her to look for the egg. She also tells him about some cops that have been calling their home. Afterward, he visits Adama. He confesses he was found with 30 grams on him. Driss wants to take him to lunch, but Adama refuses and instead gets in the same suspicious car from before. Later on, Driss is allowed to be present while Philip dictates his letter for Eleanor to Magali. He thinks this purple prose is very boring and that Philip should be more direct. He's also baffled to hear that this has been going on for 6 months, and they never exchange pictures. When he finds her phone number on one of the letters, he takes it as a sign and calls her. He obliges Philip to take the phone and finally speak to her outside the written word. Their conversation goes so well. Philip is now on the phone with her all the time, even right before he and Driss attend the opera, during which Driss laughs and makes fun of the costumes. The next day, Driss convinces Philip to accept to exchange pictures with Eleanor and chooses one of him in the wheelchair. Afterward, while he's painting, Elisa bursts into his room to ask him for cigarettes, and she makes fun of him for trying to be artistic. He gets angry and kicks her out before going to see Philip, who is currently asking Yvonne to change the chosen picture for one of him when he wasn't quadriplegic. She hides the picture right before Driss burst in, complaining about Elisa and telling Philip he needs to discipline her. Also, Yvonne agrees this. Philip agrees to talk to her, but he's mostly surprised when Driss tells that he's been painting. Days continue to pass, and the friendship between them continues to grow. Driss takes him to play in the snow and brings him with him when he goes out for a run. Philip gets him his first suit and scolds his daughter while Driss listens to him through the baby monitor. When Driss finishes his first painting, he shows it to Magali, who slaps him when he tries to kiss her. Philip, however, pretends to like the painting and promises he'll try to sell it. The pair have a great time with each other, enjoying things like getting a faster car, sharing joints, and even hiring escorts together. When Philip's birthday comes, he isn't very excited about it. Every year, he pretends to be surprised that they're throwing a party, and he has to meet with all these relatives that only come to see him on the date to check if he's still alive. Philip says it'll all be rather boring. While he and the guests enjoy some live classical music, Driss searches for Elisa. She is crying in her room after having taken some of Yvonne's pills, which won't kill her as she expected. The reason why she's sad is that Baston broke up with her and called her a tart. So she asks Driss to talk to the boy, which he accepts to do for a price. Meanwhile, Philip is showing Driss painting to his relative, and manages to convince him to buy it for 11,000 euros. Driss goes back to the dining room and chats with Yvonne. She tells him Magali is in a relationship with someone named Fred, but things are rather rocky at the moment, giving Driss hope. As the party begins to die down, Felipe makes Driss listen to some of the most important songs in classical music history, but he can only joke in response. After the band is done, he brings his iPod and plays some music before he starts dancing right in the middle of the floor. He's an incredible dancer and even convinces the rest of the party to join him and dance with him, which Philip enjoys watching. Later, when putting Philip to bed, Driss opens Eleanor's latest letter to him. She sent her picture, showing she's rather pretty, and is telling him they should meet next week when she visits Paris. When the day of the date comes, Yvonne and Driss put Philip through dozens of outfits until they find the perfect one. And since it's Yvonne that will take Philip to the date, Driss uses his day off to visit Baston, and he threatens him until the boy accepts to apologize to Elisa and to bring her croissants every day. He also asks him to fix his hair. Afterward, he visits his mother at work, but only to watch her from afar. At the restaurant, they are waiting for Eleanor, but she is very late. After waiting for an hour, Philip gives up and calls Driss to ask him to take him away. Then they leave the restaurant without noticing Eleanor is arriving at the same time. That same night, Philip takes Driss with him in his private plane, and he gives him the money he got for selling the picture, making him immeasurably happy. They make it to the countryside the next morning, and Philip decides to go paragliding, dragging Driss with him as well. Driss doesn't want anything to do with it, but after initially freaking out, he ends up enjoying the experience. When they return home, Adama is there waiting for Driss and gets scolded when he sees the scars on his face. Adama will still not tell Driss what's happening in his life though, so Driss makes him wait in his room while he calls Mina to tell her not to worry, and goes to put Philip to bed. Philip however isn't sleepy yet. After making Driss look at a painting with him, he asks him about his family. At first, Driss doesn't want to talk about, but eventually gives in. It turns out, Adama technically isn't his brother and his parents aren't actually his parents. They're his aunt and uncle. They fetched him from Senegal when he was 8, because they couldn't have kids, and his real name is Idris, and that became Driss. One day, his aunt miraculously was able to conceive, and after his uncle died, there were other men and more kids as well. In the same way Driss had talked to him about Elisa, Philip points out that Adama needs discipline, so he fires Driss. That way, he can be there with his family because he can't spend his whole life taking care of an old man. The next morning, after Baston has brought his daily croissant while wearing a better hairdo, Driss packs his bags and gets ready to go. On his way out of the house, he gives the baby monitor back to Yvonne. In return, she gives him the escort file he had started, and he's disappointed to find the picture he had chosen is hidden there. Driss throws away the file, but he keeps the photo for himself. Once outside, he finds a car once again blocking the entrance, so he asks him to move away even if he doesn't work there anymore. When Adama calls him out for it, Driss says it is a matter of principle. A few hours later, the two brothers go pick up their mother at the station. While back at the house, Philip is having his first dinner together with his new caretaker, who is boring. Philip decides to leave him without even having a bite. As days pass, Driss goes back to his old life. He hangs out with his old friends again, and tells the guys from the suspicious car not to bother Adama anymore. When he goes to an interview he doesn't have enough experience for, he manages to win over the employer by calling himself pragmatic, and using all the art knowledge he acquired while working for Philip. This lands him a job as a driver. Felipe continues to dislike his new caretaker and is in a constant bad mood. One night, he refuses anyone in the house to help him with his phantom pain, so Yvonne calls Driss and asks him to come over. That's how they find themselves in the situation from the beginning, with the cops chasing after them first and escorting them to the hospital later. After that little adventure, Driss drives Philip to the coast, and the sight of the sea helps Philip calm down. Sometime later, Driss takes care of Philip's overgrown beard before taking him to a restaurant for lunch. But he doesn't stay, because someone else will be making Philip company today. Driss wishes him luck and finally gives him back his egg before leaving. Philip starts worrying about being alone until he sees who his date is, Eleanor. She is delighted to see him and doesn't mind the chair at all. The two men continue to be very close friends to this day. For more videos like this, subscribe and click the notification bell. And don't forget to hit the like button. Also, you can check our other videos. Enjoy and take care.